Hi, everybody. Welcome to my channel, Living Mosaic. And today I'm going to talk to you about my amazing discovery, saying adios to the food noise that I never knew existed. To me, this was definitely an amazing discovery. It's something that I had lived with my whole life and didn't even realize that there was a problem with it. So, in the GLP community, food noise basically refers to all that stuff in your head that just kind of keeps going and ruminating on food and what am I going to eat? Where am I going to eat? That kind of thing. What do I feel like? And that was a constant, everyday thing for me. And so um, when I started the GLP-1, but it seems so instantaneous. I don't even know. But by the next day, um, I didn't think about food. I wasn't hungry. I had no desire to eat. And for me, that was amazing because it's not anything I'd ever experienced before. So it was something brand new, brand new to me. And I know that other people that talk about it, it's exciting to them as well. Um, I think that's why I really, I really took to this. Taking the Manjaro and I made an informed decision. If you watch my intro video, you would see that, I took time to do research and um, it wasn't just something willy-nilly. I really wanted to get my health in check. I just did not know how quickly that it would take effect. Um, so the very next day, everything was out of my head, basically. I didn't feel the need to eat. I didn't hear the voices, so to speak, for lack of a better term, say, okay, what do you want to eat? And then feel weird and not weird like sick weird, but weird like I felt bad that if things weren't planned out, right? And even get kind of irritated if things weren't, a certain kind of way. Um, Literally now, even let's just say, okay, I'll go back. Lunch has always been my favorite meal of the day. I feel like I have to have lunch because that's going to keep me going. Never was much of a breakfast eater. Very rarely did I even want to eat breakfast. And if I did, it was something only when I had like a hankering for French toast or pancakes or, maybe eggs and turkey bacon or something like that. So it really wasn't even a thing for me. But lunch was my number one meal of the day. And so let's just say I don't have the time to plan for meals, make, my meals in advance for lunch. This is how I was living, not having the time to prepare my meals. So I would go to lunch with nothing, wouldn't take a lunch, and then I would go out to eat every day, whatever fast food or, I try to be intentional and eat things that were a little bit better for me, but a lot of times it was just the fast food places, get in, get out type thing. And I noticed some other people in my office were a pretty close knit group, which is wonderful. I work in a place where there's no real conflict. I'm very happy there. Um, but some of them were really getting on a path of food wellness. Like they were eating good foods and making their meals ahead of time and stuff that I had wanted to do, but never felt like I had time to do it. And so, um, I started being more intentional about this is before the GLP-1. So started making more intentional decisions, bringing a salad, because I felt really encouraged, it was supportive to see other people do it, and we talk about it, at lunchtime, and it was just, a good feeling to be like you belong to the club of well eaters, right? Um, so anyways, And I felt like it was going decently. But like I had said in my intro video, my A1C was out of whack, and I really was concerned about that. So, what I did was, I had gone to the doctor, and she, recommended me do Manjaro. And she said it's great for diabetes; it'll help. And I trusted her, and I said, okay, yeah, I'll give it a try. She gave me the samples. I took them home and sat them down, did my research, and then decided I would just do it because, what the heck? The bonus is weight loss. And then with the food noise ending, the very next day, I was like, wow, this stuff really works. So if I'm not hungry, then I'm going to make sure that I eat healthy foods and, put time and effort into that. And so, I'll talk about that in my next video. But I really want to focus on the discovery of no food noise because until you know what it is, you don't know that it exists, if that makes sense. So, going through life, planning everything around food is it's like an obsession. It's like you don't know any different, okay? And it might be like let's just say um someone who has, you know, a compulsive nature might be like, well, let me check my clock before I go to bed, but I'm going to check it like 5 or 6 times. So it's going to be like a compulsion to do that. So with food noise, it was a compulsion to focus on food, you know, and I didn't care what it was. I even though I tried at times to be intentional and to watch what I was eating prior to taking Manjaro, I wasn't always as careful as I should have been. Um, I think the biggest thing that I changed in my life was like, let's say I went to Burger King I got a Whopper with cheese, had it the way I liked it, no lettuce, extra pickles, but I never really wanted the French fries. So that would be like, and if I knew I wasn't going to eat the French fries, which is just this, I think this had to do with my age. I was getting tired of, always having to have that as an option. Like there's never any other option, right? It's always fries. And then I was trying not to drink, pop, I spent most of my life drinking Pepsi and Coke. I mean, those were my favorite drinks. I mean, I felt like it was an addiction. Um, and so I was at the point in my life, like I said, I think this is my age calling me out saying, I don't really want the fries and I don't really even want the drink. I just want the sandwich. So that was kind of was some things that I felt I was being intentional about, not forcing myself to eat fries or have the drink. And then if I did have the drink, I would make sure that I was trying to do like a Sprite, or what's the other drink? Starry, and try not to do the caffeine because I was always trying to be intentional about not doing caffeine. However, I switched from drinking less Coke, Pepsi, to going into like tea. So I'd go to my local convenience store and I'd get my sweet tea or I would get a lemonade, and that was just a daily thing. I'm gonna go out for my drink, and get my drink. Um, and there was just something, it's just something about a cup with a straw and the ice. I don't know. For me, that was my thing. Everybody has their thing, and that was my thing. So that's kind of where that was. And so when the food noise stopped, I had no desire for that, any of that. Like it just was gone. So I didn't feel like, oh, I need to go through here or go through there. And I feel like I learned some things pretty quickly about how to eat, and I'll talk about that in the next video. Um, but to me, I really just don't know how else to word it. It's just to me, it was an amazing discovery. that really I'm trying to get some kind of decrease in my A1C, which was a concern for far too long that I just let go and ignored. Um, but it's just remarkable to recognize that I had a problem with food, even though I was trying in a lot of ways to stop having issues with this or that, thinking I was making good choices. But I pretty much really just ate what I wanted and definitely could tell my health was suffering. Although, again, I ignored it most of the time, just making, this is what I would say all the time. I'm not eating as much as I used to, which is true, but then again, I think that's because I'm getting older and I just didn't feel the need to eat as big of portions as I was. But let me tell you, one of my weaknesses was, and one of my favorite snacks of all time, chips and salsa, and especially restaurant chips and salsa. I could go through a whole basket by myself before the meal because I loved the chips and salsa. Now I don't do that. So it's like I'm really mindful um, of what I'm taking in because there's nothing there in the brain nagging at me to, oh, just keep eating it. It's so good. Living off that, it's so good. It tastes great. It's, whatever. And I don't feel like, I know there's a stereotype for people that have overweight and have obesity that they're lazy. And I don't feel like that was true of me. I could see how, as my health declined, I probably did less. I mean, that's just the reality of it, and didn't want to um, do as much. But the whole, and I'll speak from a mental perspective, is I am amazed. I'm amazed that the food noise is gone. Literally, and I've been tracking, and I'll talk about tracking in a different video, but one time I can recognize having food noise, and it was very minimal. I mean, just things like thinking about, what I was going to eat. And I don't even think it was more like the same way I was doing it. I think it was more like preparing the new way I'm eating, trying to think strategically in advance. So I don't even think it was like truly food noise, but I, checked the little box and said, okay, I consider that food noise because I'm thinking about it and putting some time and effort into my brain power with that. So the fact that it's gone is it's like I feel giving me a new lean on life that I never knew existed. And I recognize that it is um, biochemical. I believe wholeheartedly now that there was something wrong in my genetic makeup. That it was, you know, there's metabolic dysfunction in my body, and I had no clue. And it's easy, I think, sitting on the sideline and observing that people who don't have food noise is hard to comprehend and can seem biased or prejudiced towards those that do, thinking that they're just, you know, fat, lazy, unmotivated, which is not true. And I might even say it's like, if you're on the inside and you're out looking out a window, you see um, what's going on the outside. So even if you're looking at addiction, I can't understand what it's like to have an addiction like drugs, alcohol, gambling, those kind of things, because I've not done that. I've not had that issue. So who am I to judge those people's intentions, you know? And besides, I feel I'm a board encourager. I feel that's my talent, that I care about the well-being of people, and I just wouldn't even go down that road. But there are people out there that do, and they like to point the finger, or they like to blame, or they like to have something to say, because a lot of people like to have something to say. But until you really truly know, like the old saying, you know, you don't know what it's like until you put yourself in the person's shoes. And it's true. I was in the shoes and I didn't even know what it was like. So that makes it even more of, I don't know, a silver lining for me to see that this is a big change. It's a big discovery. It's giving me a new opportunity for health and wellness. And I'm taking it. I'm taking the opportunity, and I'm loving where it's leading me. And I hope that by me sharing my story, which took me a while to decide to do this, by the way, I'm not, I don't have issues with, pretty extroverted, I guess, I'm not, I like to observe things until I feel comfortable, and then I put myself out there. And, um, so it wasn't like I'm too shy. I just wanted to make sure that I could fill this role, I guess, in a positive way, and give a message to others that there's hope. Why aren't we allowed to have hope if other people can? And I feel that that's what this GLP-1 is doing for me. And I know it's doing for many others. So I want to encourage you that if you're thinking about getting on GLP-1, starting a GLP-1, do some research. Be encouraged by the videos on YouTube or other platforms, and then make an informed decision. Talk to your doctor, make an informed decision. I'm not a doctor. I can't give medical advice. I'm just going to tell my story, and hopefully that'll be encouraging to others. And hopefully I bring content that interests you. And then if you have any questions for me, leave them down below. Subscribe, like, hit the notification bell so that you can hear when my next video is out. So hopefully that'll be something of interest to you. And even if you happen upon my YouTube channel by accident or whatever, I hope you like it. I hope you give it a thumbs up. A couple things I'd like to do at the end of my videos include what I call the Living Self-Care Rally and the Living Word Bible. Okay. So I am a believer. I believe I'm a Christian, so I am a believer in the Word of God. That's my personal belief. I'm not pushing that on anybody. But because I want to honor God in my journey, I'm going to put my Living Word Bible verse at the end of each video. So if you want to just go with me through to the Living Self-Care Rally part and then turn it off, it won't hurt my feelings. But for those of you who do believe and would like to hear what that Bible verse is I'm going to share at the end of each video, then just stick with me until the very end. And hopefully it will encourage you, especially if you are a believer, and you could take something with you. And I hope that you learned something from me today. I hope that you can tell that I am truly genuine in this. I wouldn't put any effort, I promise you, I'm not going to put any effort into anything that I don't feel passionate about, and I'll tell you more about, maybe more personal stuff about who I am and what I do for a living, and then you'll understand, I think. But I'm really passionate about things. I'll put effort into it. And I really feel that way about Manjaro and my GLP-1 and this community in which I found so much support already. And I've only been in this way for almost complete 4 weeks. So, and I'm going to start doing weekly check-ins as well. But I just haven't, because I had to make the decision if I wanted to do videos or not. And so I will be doing that. That's my plan as well. So you can get, you know, what I'm going to call these Living Mosaic Highlight focuses. So it's going to be a focus topic, and then my weekly check-in. And so hopefully we'll be seeing, gradually build, and it'll be 2 videos a week is what my plan is. Life happens, and I'm a very, very busy person. But I'm going to really do my best to stay on that course to offer good content and check-ins. So what I'd like to do is show you something that I believe helps pour in positivity. I'm a believer in pouring in positive things, affirmations, um, so you can live full of joy and contentment. Okay. And that's why I have this channel called The Living Mosaic, because I believe in our experiences in life and how they guide us. Excuse me. And what we learn from life. Okay. So I'm going to do this thing called tapping in. And it's just a little butterfly tap like this, back and forth. You don't have to do it if you don't want to, if it feels weird to you. Um, but just say to yourself, and this is part of the Living Self-Care Rally, I'm rallying you to take just this moment for self-care, to fill yourself and pour in some positivity, okay? And then while tapping, you're just going to say, I matter, I am valued, I am loved, and I am a living mosaic. And I truly believe that with all my heart, that you matter, you are valued, you are loved, and you are a living mosaic. Okay. So I hope you take that and just let it just pour right into you and make you feel really good about who you are and how you're living your journey. Okay. So my living word Bible verse for the day is from Matthew 6:25 and 26. And it says, therefore, I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or drink, or about your body, what you will wear. Is not life more important than food, and the body more than clothes? Look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap or store away in barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not much more valuable than they? Can any one of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your life? And I will leave you with that. I hope I was encouraging, and I hope that you join me on my next video, and you have a wonderful, blessed day, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.